Welcome to 10-Minute Flows. My name is Robin. I'm your embodiment guide. We're going to be exploring hip flexor stretches today. Not my favorite, but most of us actually have pretty tight and weak hip flexors, particularly the psoas. So that is the deep, deep, deep muscle, and it's actually the only muscle that connects the lower body to the upper body. So it connects at your inner thigh, and then it also connects on your low back. And we sit a lot. So these stretches are really important to counteract the action of hip flexion that we tend to be in all too often. All right, 2 yoga blocks if you have them. 1 yoga block will do, and a stack of books on either side of your body will also do. And a blanket is going to be really nice underneath your knees. We're going to begin with a lunge. Let's take the hands onto your block. Start by bringing your right foot forward. Now, the reason why I have the blocks is it actually just makes this much more pleasurable and comfortable. So we'll start by letting the hips begin to sink forward and down. Now, as soon as we come into here, we're working into the hip flexors. And you might immediately just start to notice some intensity. Watch out for that kind of gripping and holding and resisting that might happen here. And as much as you can, stay away from where it gets really intense and just stay at a place where it feels like, I can manage this, I can hold this, I can be with this. And breathe. Your body might invite you into a deeper experience. It might start to feel easy, in which case you can lower down your support or remove your support entirely. So just notice when you start to get into that grippy space. You might do an inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth to release. Sounding is totally appropriate here. So if it's a that needs to come out, just allow that to happen. Trust what your body wants to offer you and just follow your instincts. This can get intense, and I know that there are a lot of more metaphysical explanations that you might hear around the psoas being the muscle of the soul, and that there's actually a lot of emotions held here. And in my experience, I have felt strong emotional reaction surface when stretching my hip flexors. So I'm not going to discount that. It could very well be a true statement. So in the practice of inquiry, you can just feel into what feels true for you. Does this feel like an emotional reaction to something that might be stored in the tissues of your body? Or is it just a discomfort and your reaction to discomfort? And it could be as simple as that. So, really try not to read too much into the experience, because the why is not necessary. It's more about just letting yourself feel what surfaces. Stay away from sharp, uncomfortable, stressful pain. Lean into some discomfort and just learn to sit, learn to be. Okay, let's come out. So you can actually use your supports or your blocks here to come into that opposite direction. You want to open up the back of your leg, flex your foot, toes up toward the sky. And then we're going to step your foot back a little bit so that when you come upright here, you're more like you're about to propose to somebody. That kind of look. And then this is why we have the blanket, because here you're going to get a little more intensity if you tuck those back toes under. And what we're going to do here is just give a nice strong tuck to the tailbone. As soon as you do that, as soon as you reach your tailbone down toward the ground, you're going to feel that that stretch moves more into the front of your thigh, and that's what we want. And then you might start to let the energy of this pose move forward. And just again, stay present in your body. So I find thighs have a very different feeling of stretch than hip flexors, but it's still pretty intense. Good. So you'll step your right foot back, step your left foot forward, and bring your blocks forward as you shift your weight into this. Again, recognizing that side to side, it might be a very, very different experience. So I know my left side, I'm kind of okay with it. As soon as I get onto this right side, so I'm stretching my right hip, things start to get a little squirrely for me. So just, again, in the interest of being curious about your body and your practice and what's happening, just notice what happens when you switch sides. Notice the response in your body. And again, staying on the side of comfort more than extreme discomfort, but leaning into those spaces and places that feel a little bit intense, a little bit dicey. And just go there. You can back off and then you can lean in again. This is you. You get to move in a really titrated way. So titration is that idea of just adding a little bit at a time, getting used to it. In yoga, we might call it playing the edge. So just leaning up against your edge, relaxing into it, and then perhaps noticing that your body will gently invite you deeper into a deeper experience, into something more intense. There's a lot more integrity in that titration, in that slow edging into the discomfort than there is like forcing it, right? Like forcing you into that space of stress and duress. Because then you grit your teeth and actually your body just will block any sort of opening. It's not safe. Stay in that realm where you feel safe. And one might compare this to all personal development work, really. We don't want to go on this journey where we're continually like improving, having to do more, having to like read the next self-help book. Slow, steady, incremental progress is really, really good for our nervous systems. Too much, too soon can really throw us off balance. Same goes with your work. You don't have to do it all at once. Again, just notice what comes up for you here. What do you feel? Again, let's let the weight shift back. Left toes up toward the sky. Opening up the back of your leg. Good. Foot on the floor. Tuck your back toes under. Let's come up, right? So balance might be a little challenging here, so you want to ground through that front foot, engage your core, tuck your tailbone, and then the energy moves forward as we stretch into our thigh. Good. So we're going to make a transition here. So you'll set your blocks aside and just folding your blanket so that it's a little bit thicker. And then you can lay down on your back with your pelvis on your blanket. So you just have a little bit of an elevation. You can always use a bolster underneath your hips as well. Here you could even use one of your blocks. Take your knees, point them up toward the ceiling, and just slowly, 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 slowly straighten your right leg. And then you're just gonna let your right leg relax completely. And there are probably lots of ways in which you're engaging strength in your leg right now without even noticing. So can you release through your low back? So a little drop of your rib cage, your low ribs down toward the ground. Can you release across the front of your hip? So what you might find is that as you release these, you feel like a kind of like a pulse of energy down your leg. And that is the letting go. If you don't feel it, that's okay. You can come back to this practice many, many, many times over. And then let that relax into your inner thigh. Are you gripping your inner thigh? And then bend your knee, take your foot back, and then straighten your left leg. Same thing. So if you want to do this psoas release as its standalone practice, you could stay with this for 10, 15 minutes per side even, and just continually setting the intention to let go of any kind of unconscious gripping or even conscious gripping. Any way in which your leg, your hip flexors are working and they don't need to be. So releasing through your low back, releasing low ribs toward the ground, letting go of tension in your low back, letting that ripple around the front of your hip, down into your inner thigh. then you can bend your knee, take your foot on the floor, and time, patience, and awareness can really support that practice, and you can, like I said, take as long as you want with it. Let's roll over onto our side and come up to sitting. And just finding yourself in a nice tall seat. Take a couple of moments to tune in to how your body's feeling.